Sickest looking out. Hell yeah. I know my dogs are watching, and if you ain't, you will be. And if you are watching and you ain't my dog yet, you will be. Because I'm Swede, and I'm here to help you get busy living. What is that? That's one epic adventure every single month. This is month 12. We got 43 to go. You guys are not going to believe this. I'm just going to go right from the jump. I'm going to bring Caro on with me. Caro, show the Get Busy Living audience what we got going on right now.
Hey guys, so excited to be here tonight. Thank you. This is my background right now. This is my bed, my kitchen, the studio. So we adapt this the boogie band to do the studio today. Did you say where we at?
Yeah, no. So we're at Darien Lake, upstate New York. My sister is my reason for being on the East Coast at this point right now. And so my sister Holly is here with her family, my dad, my brother, my sister Kelly. It's the first time the four of us siblings have been together all at one time. And I'm so fucking pumped to go inside to this concert. And I was like, when I found out that this was happening, I was like, I gotta go. But I was like, I'm podcasting that night. Like, it's like conflict of interest. What am I gonna do? I guess I'm gonna do both. So yeah, go ahead and show them where we're at. We're over here kicking it in the parking lot there.
Well, this is a gift where we are now. This is my dog Nacho sleeping on the ground. This is our bar where we've been living on the road for the last 7 days. This is where we are right now. This is the concert, the roller coasters in the back. We've been living in this place for the last week. So it's been wild, but it's been so excited. So we want to show you guys this before you guys go ahead and start talking to your guests.
Yes. All right. So, hey, Carol, guys, stick around. She's going to come back and come back here from behind the curtain. But first, since nothing.
Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Oh, wait.
Well, I heard what you were saying, though. And I think that you can just go ahead and introduce me. I'm already here like a
what's
ghost.
Up, D-Rex?
Well, hello, everybody. I am not in the Swede Mobile. I'm coming at you from Los Angeles still. But it looks like an epic adventure that you're on. Looks like 12 down and 43 to go.
Hell yeah. Amazing. Yes. Oh, man. I'm up here. I went to Kane, Pennsylvania yesterday and hung out with my sisters. And, oh, man, I was in the backyard of my grandfather's house. That's where my sister lives now. And the church started ringing. The bell started ringing. And it reminded me of when I was like 4 years old. It was like going back in time. It was the craziest thing, like, oh my God. I looked across the yard and I remembered when I was there, I was like small enough to fit in a kiddie pool. And I can remember that my mom and my mom's friends having a kiddie pool in this same yard 40 some years ago. And it's the same fence. And like the church is right there. And like hearing that church bell ring, man, is like, Pavlov can make the dog salivate, man. I was sitting there. I swear I shit my diapers. It made me feel like I was a kid again, man. I was dying. But yeah, so then, the sisters and we all drove up here to Darien Lake, and they're all inside at the concert. And as soon as we're done kicking it with the architect, then we're gonna go inside and get busy living with them. So hey guys, Excellent. If you're in the comments, thank you for being here, man. One of these days, you guys are gonna get out here on one of these epic destinations with me. That's the point. I'm gonna start getting these invitations out and making it, incentivizing, I guess, what I have to do, to get you guys to come out and have fun with me. But so D-Rex, I know that I've introduced you to some interesting people on this show, and you've introduced me to some interesting people since we've been working on this project. But this guy right here, just his voice penetrates my soul. I feel like I'm getting like straight downloaded wisdom from God when I speak to this man. Can you please welcome our guest to the stage?
I would love to, but the graphic hasn't quite uploaded yet. Just give me 1 second to properly introduce him.
There's
Because
graphics.
it's just taking a sec. Well, the graphic, the guest graphic. I got to say, I'm super impressed with this guy, and if anything is worth doing today, you've got to listen to what he has to say. I am enraptured every time I talk to him, and it's been twice now. And each time I thought that wasn't long enough. So let's bring him on. This is
My
Obliq,
man.
and
What's up, Bleak, the architect in the
an
house?
amazing
What's up?
person. We're so lucky to have you on today. Thank you for being here.
What's up, guys?
Yes, sir.
So Obliq
Elevated
is the
Underground.
owner he's the owner and CEO of Elevated Underground, a multimedia company. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what that is so we can just wrap our heads around what you do?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do a shameless plug real quick. I'm the owner operator of Elevated Underground, but I'm also owner of Marathon Capital Investments. So I got to shout out my dogs, all my MCI guys and
Please
women.
do.
Appreciate you guys. Yeah, man. What's up, y'all, man? I'm happy to be on the show, man. Last time we had some technical difficulties. I couldn't stay on long. We said we were going to do this, and I'm glad we finally put it together.
Yeah, man. Yeah, really super pumped, bro. Me and you could kick it and just talk shop all the time, all day, and I think people would love to just be flies on the wall. But, bro, you're here to send a real specific message today.
Yeah,
and I'm excited about that. We're gonna get you back on, bro. We want you to be a friend of the show and a part of the community for sure. But man, I'm excited about the name Obliq, the architect, and you talking to us and our folk about about the stuff that we've been talking about recently. The way that you break it down, man, is just like poetry in motion.
Yeah, man. Literally, what you're doing, what you guys are doing, is kind of the whole point of this conversation. You guys made a choice. You made a choice, and you decided what you wanted, and then you created it. That's the whole point.
Yeah. So Obliq is basically here to tell us about his what do you want to say? His belief that you can design your life. You can create the life that you want through your own choices and your own actions. So, do you have some sort of technique you're going to be rolling us through, or?
I'm just going to take you on. I guess let me just start with just telling you a little bit about myself and how I got to that light switch moment. You know what I mean? So, I grew up in Atlanta. Grew up on the north side of Atlanta, south side of Atlanta, southwest side of Atlanta, and I had a very traumatic childhood. You know what I mean? Like, long story short, like I grew up with both parents until I was about 5-6 years old. My parents got divorced, and next thing I knew, I was living with this dude. You know what I'm saying? And so I was, and very, very quickly, when you're young, you're not stupid. You know what I mean? Very quickly, I realized something was wrong. So I ended up coming from this 2-parent household into this household where I have this dude that's abusing me. And I'm going to speak very, very, very openly about this stuff because I don't have any regrets, and a lot of this trauma is really what created the moment. So I'm growing up with this guy. He's abusive. Woo. I'm not seeing my mom much. She's coming home. She's going in the room. I'm not knowing what's going on, but I know something's not right. You know what I'm saying? I get all the way up to middle school, and next thing I know, they're sending me away.
To where?
So I ended up going to boarding school up in Maine.
Wow, Maine, from the ATL to the Northeast.
All the
Culture
way
shock.
45 minutes away from Canada. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very different. How did you feel about that at the time?
I think that the way the trauma affected me, I was just happy to be not in the house. But once I got up there, that's when, because now I have time to reflect on what's happening. You know what I mean? So now I'm all the way away from everything that I know. And it's crazy how even the trauma can become normal. You know what I mean? So I'm up here, I'm all the way up in Maine. I don't know anybody. I'm around a culture I don't know anything about. You know what I'm saying? So I'm up. It's cold. Gotta put that in there. It's cold.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
It's first time my hair ever froze. You know what I mean? So I'm up in Maine. I'm up there for 3 years, and then
wow, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then by the summer in between my junior and senior year, I get brought back. So what was happening?
Atlanta?
Yes, I get brought back to Atlanta.
Okay.
And so I'm not knowing what's going on. It's presented to me like they always made it seem like I was doing something wrong. You know what I'm saying? So it just creates this bigger, it just compounds, the way I felt about myself. I found out
because
go ahead.
Kids don't know any better. You tell them things and they believe you. And if they tell you you're doing something wrong, you believe them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. For those of you that weren't with us last week, we were talking about generational trauma, and this is what you're talking about. You're just picking up the baton from when we were out last week. Speaking of which, I want to give a shout out to my folk, Key Rod's in the house, Trisha Adams, These Nuts. Hey, Obliq, I think you might got some friends in the house. Lori Colonna, good to see you, girl. Hey, we got some good news coming up about the progress we're making in that realm too, Lori. Can't wait to share that with you. And Kiro's actually out in the neighborhood, D-Rex, so I'm going to go linking up with him too.
Oh, great.
LA Allure, we got this. LA Allure said, "What's up, bro?" In the house. Hell yeah.
What's up, bro?
Joyner Barnes. Gang. We hear my guy. Good looking out, y'all. Thanks for tuning in to the Get Busy Living podcast. Bleak, the trauma that you experienced as a child, they shipped your ass up the river, all the way up the river.
And
then they brought you back and told you did it wrong.
Exactly. So when I get back, I'm thinking I'm coming back to be, back in the same house that I left. You know what I mean? But when I get back, my mom tells me I can't live with her. And she sends me to my grandparents' house. She tells me you can no longer live in my house.
That's just how she put it?
Oh, it's worse, man. I don't want to get into a lot of details. Because I know there's a lot to this journey, you know what I mean? But look, she takes me to her best friend's house. And I'm thinking I'm going to a barbecue. And on the front porch when we get there, she sits me down and she tells me I can't live in her house. And she goes inside, closes the door. And those doors with it's like the door and then there's like that the steel cage part. It's like
yeah, of course.
I'll never forget that sound. She goes in, she closes the door, and I just hear that door go. And she just left. She just left me there. So only thing I knew how to do was get to my grandmother's house. I didn't know a lot about public transit, but I knew that the 71 went by my grandmother's house. So I knew if I could get to the 71, I could get to my grandma's house. So I get to my grandma's house. I'm there. I go in there. My grandma hugs me. She shows me where my room is. I go in there and I lay down, take a nap. When I wake up, my dad is there. So the room that she has me in, my dad lives there too, in the same room.
Have you been in contact with your dad since 5 or 6?
This is a dude I hadn't hardly seen since I was 5 or 6. I'd seen him periodically. Dude, I don't know him. And all I know is what my mom has told me about him and my few experiences with him.
This is one of the most confusing experiences I've ever heard of.
So imagine how I felt.
For a child. Yeah, for a child, to go through all of that chaos. Well, go on.
Now, mind you, I'm a teenager. I'm getting ready to go into my senior year. But everybody knows 17, 18, you're still a child.
Yeah.
You are. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I go through my whole senior year. That was its own thing, but what happened in that situation, so I didn't grow up in the streets. You know what I mean? I grew up middle class. And then I got thrown to the street. And so I'm in Southwest Atlanta. I'm in Southwest Atlanta where you got to figure it out. This is literally life or death every day.
Yeah.
So me being angry at this point, abused child, got thrown away, end up in Southwest Atlanta with a dude I barely know, but he's my dad. So that's a whole different level of anger.
Yeah, that's crazy. You know, we could do 2 episodes just on that. There's no way to get that, even just that alone, in 1 hour.
Right.
That's a fucking. Wow.
And then I'm dealing with all this street stuff. You know what I mean? You know.
Yeah.
But I was an intelligent kid, so I ended up going to college scholarship.
Hell yeah.
Now I'm in Kentucky. Now I'm in Kentucky.
You know what? I don't even want to gloss over this. The fact that you thought you were going to go in the military, but someone convinced you to go to a college fair and sign up for something, and you ended up with a college scholarship. So now you're going to college out of nowhere.
Had no intention of going to college. When I went to the college fair, I literally just used it as an excuse to get out of school. I didn't have any intentions of going to college. And I come across this school, and they said the right stuff, and I was like, sign me up. You know what I'm saying? I get this college scholarship. I'm in college. Mm-hmm. And the crazy thing is because you hear it a lot. You hear it a lot about people that come from these neighborhoods. Like, I'm just trying to get out. I was so institutionalized by this neighborhood. I brought the experience with me. So I'm in college thugging. I'm selling drugs and everything. You know what I mean? Like, my record is clean down, so I can talk about this stuff. I'm in college. I'm selling drugs. I'm thugging. Woo, woo. And I fell out. I fell out after 1 year. I get out, and then I fell out.
Wow. Now, so you had everything handed to you, and you kind of just let it go.
I couldn't mentally grasp the opportunity. You know what I mean? I was still angry. I was still, and I was, like I said, I was institutionalized by the last 2 years that I had just experienced, and if you want to take it further, the lifetime that I had experienced. So I fell out. I'm right back in the streets, but now I'm in Kentucky. Once again, I'm in an environment I know nothing about, so it's survival again. Next thing I know, I'm getting locked up on a trafficking charge.
Whoa.
So
it was while you're in college?
No, this is after I failed out. So once I failed out, I just went full. Okay. I went full goon mode. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I get locked up. With it being my first offense as an adult, you know, I kind of got a slap on the wrist. You know what I mean? Did a little bit of time, but they let me out on probation. 3 months later, I'm back in on felony charges. And I also at this time had a child, my first daughter. So now I have this newborn baby, and I'm about to go do fed time. So we go through that. I served my bid, and this was for me the light bulb moment that made me. It kind of was the catalyst to begin the process of where my mind is now. So, like I said, I have this newborn daughter, and I'm locked up. I'm missing all the milestones you get with your newborn baby. You know, her sitting up. Her, you know what I'm saying? Her the first time she eats solid food, all, you know, you got, you know, the stuff you got with Lyric, you know what I'm saying? I didn't get any of that stuff. But my ex-wife, one of my best friends in the world, she used to come see me every Sunday. She used to write me every day. I'll love her forever for that, besides all the other reasons she makes me love her. But
hell yeah.
She always brought my child to see me. And she brought her one Sunday, and my daughter takes her first steps at visitation.
Dang. Her first steps in her life was out of jail.
And I can't hug her. All I can do is talk to her.
Damn.
I can't hug her. You know what I'm saying?
That's a terrible feeling as a parent. Wow. It's devastating.
Wow.
And I remember the way that felt. I still remember it to this day like it just happened. I remember how it felt. That's the only time I ever cried, when I was locked up. But it was such a necessary moment, because that's when I got to really look at myself and really look at the creation, the thing that I had created, because at the end of the day, this reality was my creation. And that was when it made sense. It was like, it wasn't about why I was angry. It wasn't about how I ended there. It was about whose responsibility was it? I created it for myself by the choices that I made, and it became so clear to me. Like, you got locked up before this, and you took it as a joke. But this moment was like, is this going to be my life? Is this how my daughter is going to see her father? Because luckily she's young enough where she don't remember that. But I do. You know what I'm saying? And so that was the moment where I was like, this is not going to be my reality. I still had time to do, but it even changed the way that I did my time moving forward.
Like in what ways?
So I was still hardened before that moment. I was in there, and it is survival when you're incarcerated. It is survival, but I hadn't mentally shifted. Like, I wasn't thinking about what's my plan after this. What am I going to do? How am I going to create something different? Because if
you're still rebelling, revolting, and
well, I was still the same person. I was still the same person. That moment made me something different, because then I realized what was important to me. There was something bigger than what I was doing. There was something bigger, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do the rest of this time, but I will never be in this situation again. And so what happens is, when you realize what you don't want, the first step is always realizing what you don't want.
That's survival. Yeah, that's primal. So we learn to avoid a risk, first. That's
absolutely
101.
And I think once you realize what you don't want, the question becomes, okay, what do I actually want? And I don't think I had ever up to that point actually asked myself, what do I actually want? So that's when I created the plan. I was like, I'm gonna get out, I'm gonna work my way back into school, I'm gonna get this degree, because now I got an F on my report card. You know what I mean? A felony, that's an F on your report card. And it's on there till it ain't. So, like, I already knew that life was going to be different for me when I got out. But for me, it became, with this different life, how do I still win with this new mindset?
Wow.
So, yeah, and that's
so
what I did.
I'm curious to hear maybe what your first choice was that you did different after you made that conscious decision.
My first choice was getting a job, a real job, like a real job. And my real job was Wendy's.
Oh, wow.
Worked at Wendy's, but the mentality was different. So it wasn't
you're on paper. You're on paper. You're like, okay, I'll play the game. Then you're like, you changed it up instead of just trying to revolt and go the sideways route. You decide to get your hand in the game, start getting on paper, and start making it legit.
I think the biggest thing was the mentally how I approached Wendy's. So you hear a lot of people talk about how they hate their job. Most people that work fast food, they hate their job. I approached it like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be the best at it. So I approached it like, okay, I got to flip burgers, but why I can't be the best burger flipper in the world? Why I can't eventually own one of these? And that's before the option to even get back in school was there. It was like, okay, if I'm going to do Wendy's, I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be a leader. I'm going to show up the same way that I led in other parts of my life. Being an athlete, even being in the streets, the same way that I was a leader there, I'm going to be a leader at Wendy's. I'm going to be valuable. And so I approached it that way. And then from that, I got the opportunity to go back to school. I got back in school, and like they used to say, I look like a pissed off little league coach. Because like when I was on campus, man, it was no games, man. Like, I get out of this class, if I got 15 minutes to get to this other class, I'm stomping across campus. I don't even want to talk to y'all. What's up, y'all? How you doing? Good to see y'all, but I'm over here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was so locked in, so focused, because I was like, I have to get these degrees. I have to get this. I have to get this on my report card because I have this F on my report card. So the person that I would become requires this degree. So yeah, they can look at when they look at me, they can say, yes, he made these mistakes, but he also made these corrections. You know what I'm saying? So I go through college. When I got back in school, I had like a 0.6 something GPA, and it wasn't from intelligence. I just never went to class. But when I got back, when I got back in, man, we're talking about beast mode, man. I ended up graduating with a 3.57. Get out of school. I graduated at the end of May 2011.
So you just like powered through it?
I was focused, man. Like even I went to a liberal arts school, so like I'm taking classes that I don't even care about. But mentally, because of where I am mentally, every class I was like, there's something in this class that I can apply to what I'm trying to do. So I actually started Elevated Underground while I was in college.
Hell yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, and Elevated Underground, we didn't really get an explanation out of you exactly what it is. Is it music studios and production studios?
So it started as music. So rewind a little bit. When I was in boarding school, that's when I started my music journey. My sophomore year in high school is when I got introduced to production and engineering. Shout out Mr. Z, Mr. Ziccarelli. He's the GOAT. You know, I was actually in the practice gym putting up some shots. I played basketball in high school, putting up some shots, and I kept hearing this sound coming from the ceiling. I go up the stairs. There's a whole multimedia studio upstairs in the gym. And Mr. Z was in there working on something for the school, and he saw me. He was like, "Hey, you want to learn?" I was like, "Yeah." So yeah, with all the other stuff that was going on, I was making music, producing beats, learning how to engineer vocals, all this stuff. So I did all of this stuff over that same time span. You know what I mean? I was still making music. That was actually kind of my therapy. Like the stuff I was going through, I would just write about it and make songs about it.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Because I couldn't afford to go to a therapist, but I could make these songs. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm doing that. When I'm in college, I switched my major multiple times, but I ended up on theater acting administration with an independent and entertainment production. And so I actually started Elevated Underground while I was in college after I got out of jail. You know what I'm saying? So I'm running this company. Me and my brother, we're making music. We're doing shows. I'm working with other artists. I'm engineering other artists, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And everything I'm learning in school, I'm applying to my business.
Hell yeah.
You know, why didn't we mention how Obliq is involved in this? Song we hear every single week.
It's my jam. It's my jam.
I remember when Swede asked me if he could use this song, man. That was such a blessing, bro. That was such a blessing.
Can I tell you the story of he shows this song to me. I was like, that is it. That is the song. How do we get it? And he's like, oh, they're just my friends. And I was like, this is amazing. So I thank you so much. I never, ever, ever get tired of this song. I get fired up every week. It's like,
for real.
I love it.
There's a dope story about that song as well. And that's part of the next chapter of the story.
Okay.
Oh yeah, let's get to it.
So we graduate. So I graduate. My brother graduates from Transylvania a year before I graduated from Berea. And when I graduate, we're living the dream, man. Like we're thriving. Music's going well. We got good jobs. Everything's going great. And November 21st, we're in a home invasion.
You're in a home invasion.
A home invasion. So the night before, we got an altercation with this guy. I'm not going to say his name because he don't get no publicity. But we get an altercation with this guy. He says he's going to come back and kill everybody. We don't believe him. 7 o'clock the next morning, November 21st, this guy is shooting up our apartment.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so we had a mutual best friend, rest in peace, Zach Flower, Zeus Flower. We all lived together. Like I said, we were living a dream, man. We had everything was everything. That day he was killed and my brother was shot.
That is probably one of the worst things that could happen to anybody. And after everything that had already happened to you, how have you been able to recover from all of this? I mean, I don't want to dwell on this part of your story because I'm sure that it has been super traumatic and you've told the story a bunch of times. But I just want to state that to have somebody come in your house and kill people that you love, I just don't think that I can think of anything worse.
I
And
don't. I wonder how many people are or will ever be listening to this that will stop and imagine the terror that you would experience having that happen to you, and then having to, luckily, only one of your fellow fellows that were there passed, because the other one was hanging on by a thread, right? I mean, that the terror in that,
Yeah.
it had to change you. It had
Uh,
to,
it was I initially, besides just the added on trauma initially, and you have survivor's guilt, but initially the biggest issue that I had was, out of all this stuff that I've done in my life, all the terrible things that I had done in my life, I finally get my life right, and then this happens. And it had nothing to do with me doing something wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't happen because of drugs. It didn't happen, it didn't happen because of something somebody did. It was literally just a dude that had evil intentions. You know,
so,
that was the
so
hardest part about it. It was like, I finally got my life right. My brother's doing incredible. My best friend, he was ex-military. He did 2 tours. You know what I'm saying? And he was finally happy, man. Like we helped heal each other, and now this thing happens, and it's like it's nobody's fault but this other guy.
Yeah.
And
can I ask you something? I mean, I don't know what the answer will be, and I really don't even know if I should ask it. But do you feel like life is a series of coincidences? Do you feel like things happen for a reason, or a mixture of both, or what's your views on this?
I do believe that you have control over yourself, but I do not believe that you have control over what happens. So life is a sequence of happenings. That's why mindfulness and being present is so important, because life happens. Your experience of life happen. It's all about how you respond to what is happening. That is the only difference between being in control of your life and not being in control of your life. When something happens, it's only control that you have is how you respond to it. And I know it sounds cliche, but it's only cliche until you actually live it and embrace it. If somebody yells at me at the grocery store, I have a choice on how I respond to that. I can respond in ego. I can respond with my ego, or I can just actually see what's happening, because that has nothing to do with me. You know what I'm saying?
I think that there is a really important statement. Is am I reacting with my ego? It's a good question to ask yourself.
And most responses that you see is ego. And so when you ask me how I got through it, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm a superhero. It broke me down. It broke me down. But it had to break me down, because that's where the strength came from. I had to get to a place where I was like, everything sucks. I'm not going to I'll never be the same. I had to get to that place so that I could find that strength and be like, the same way I was when I was incarcerated. This is not going to be my life. Is this going to be my story? Who has control over where this story goes from here?
So imagine that, ladies and gentlemen, your home has just been invaded. One of your brothers is killed. The other one is brought to within an ounce of blood of his own pass. And now you got to try to pick up the pieces. So, my friend, the architect, how do you recover from something like that?
I think you find something more important than the pain. And I think, and I love my brother to death. Shout out Price on the mic.
Kevin Christopher.
Yeah, he had to learn how to walk again. So being able to focus on his recovery, it gave me something to focus on. And I have children as well. You know what I'm saying? My ex-wife was amazing during that time. You know what I'm saying? But focusing on his healing and where we were going to go from there, it really helped. It gave me something to focus on more than just how angry and sad that I was that I lost my best friend. But that love, genuine love, man, genuine love. Like even him just being so appreciative of the fact that he was alive. I told you earlier before this episode started, I've seen this twice in my life. I've seen this twice in my life, man. I've seen something happen to somebody that I love that should have destroyed them, and I saw them make a choice.
It's crazy, man. When I met P, I was out with Curtis, and we were just friend hopping, and we ended up at some studio. Somebody was playing drums somewhere, and Price was there, and he had his trumpet, and I was like, "This motherfucker's playing a trumpet." And then we ended up binge friended. Like me and P hung out for like 3 days straight. On day two, he's like, "Yo, I got to get my brother over here, Swede. You got to meet my brother." Like, because after the first night, me and him and Curtis hung out all night long. We were playing music at 6 o'clock in the morning. It seemed like. And then we went to the beach the next day, and then on the third day is when you came over. And I remember, man, I remember when you got to the crib, man, you were like, I imagine that P was like probably talking me up big time, and you were like, "This dude can't be no damn superhero." So you came up in there, man. You were quiet as hell. I was like, kind of getting weirded out at first. I was like, this dude doesn't even. He's not even breaking a smile. Like you were just like, I could tell we were watching. You were
I'm
like
an
observing.
observer, man. I'm an observer. So it's like just because my brother like him, don't mean I gotta like him. So I'm just like I'm on the couch. I'm feeling the energy. I'm like, okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? And then obviously we became great friends. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, bro. I remember you sitting on my couch and you'd be like, "All right," you're like, you like, you'd had enough listening. You stood up. You're like, "All right, all right." Remember how my TV was in my
Yeah.
condo, like kind of
I
floated
remember
right there.
you played Outcast, and when you played Outcast, I was like, okay, he's cool.
Damn right. That's right. Outcasted it. Claim it true. That's so dope. Hey, so I'm up in Erie. I'm in the neighborhood of Erie, and anytime I come back to Erie, I'm telling you, anytime I come back to Erie, somebody says something to me about Outcast. So, because as soon as Outcast hit, Bleak, I'm not bullshitting. Like all the players were playing back when Players Ball came out, and as soon as I heard "Get Up, Get Out" on that extended single, I was Outcast, and I was it. I was nothing but Outcast. You came to my crib, and which a lot of people did, and wanted to hear something different, which a lot of people didn't, because I was bumping Outcast, no doubt, every time. And when AT Aliens came out, man, I can't wait to get Jay Brown up on this on the podcast, man. He's got a good message too. But when AT Aliens came out, bro, we had a party at my house. Jay Brown went to the disc store and bought like 8 copies. We had a whole bunch of people all throw in. Everybody came over and donated their offering onto the table, and they just sat there for hours and rolled it. And at midnight, we just Jay Brown showed up with all the copies, and we blazed out and listened to AT Aliens. Like there was probably 20 people there, maybe even 25. It was all dudes, and it was all like lyric heads. It was all like we were all in it, man. It was that epic. So I'm glad that did. I'm glad that did it, man. That's fitting. That's fitting. That's right on brand.
Greatest group of all
time. Swede, I want to ask you, when you were hanging out with Price in Florida, did you realize that he had just recovered from getting shot?
No, and that's the thing, man. When you mentioned that a second ago, Bleak, that you've witnessed two people, get knocked down completely, bro. I've never looked at myself as though I'd been through something nearly as traumatic as what you guys been through. That is another level of chaos and trauma. Okay, I chased a damn monkey. All right, that's just giggly. You guys went through some seriously traumatic shit, and so, I mean, have I had to start from scratch? Yeah. Am I getting busy living? Yeah. And is Price also? Yes. And when we get him on here and give him a chance to tell his story, he'll confirm that, man. Meeting him, there was so much charisma and so much zest for life, and just like I didn't know why. I just thought he was fucking superhuman, And now I know that, like, man, to be through what you guys have been through, man, and to have the attitudes that you guys have. I get told regularly, because of what I've been through, that it's inspirational. But I like to think that I was trying to enlighten and excite and entertain before I got, caught up chasing the monkey.
Right.
but it was always just lighthearted fun for me, you know. But now it's like people are like telling me that, like I ran into my cousin today, and she just like she sent me the sweetest message and just like, man, basically just pouring herself out and saying how inspirational my life is. And it's just because, you know, when something bad happens to you, like you said, it's what you do with it, right? What you do with it. And I like to think that more people would do the same as far as like pouring themselves in. Like a lot of people has said to me, "Man, if that happened to me, I would just fold." And I'm like, "No, it's very rare." You know, the people that don't prosper after trauma, like the type of tragedy that like knocks you completely down, those people had a lot stacked against them before the trauma knocked them down. You know, and a lot of people do recover. And so I know that I was inspired when I learned about Price's story, so I understand why people are inspired by hearing about what I'm trying to do here. But man, it's not on the same level, bro. You know, I appreciate you
I
trying
said
to
it.
give me cred. But
I
yeah.
said it in the song. I said it in the song. The last line of the verse of my verse in this song. I said, "You can't see a man's heart when he got it all. It's when he's down on his knees and he got to crawl. You don't find out who you are until everything is fucked up. It's easy to be exuberant and vibrant when everything is perfect. That is easy.
Yeah,
That doesn't you can't see yourself when everything is good. You
yeah,
see yourself when everything is fucked up. Who am I actually? How do I deal with adversity? What do I think about myself? That's part of the design. How you look at yourself, like, yeah, you said you know what I'm saying? Like when people see you, they see something. But how you see yourself is the reason that they see that. You see what I'm saying? It's you do not know who you are. It's like a relationship. You're not in. You can say you love somebody all day, but you know when you find out if you actually love somebody when the relationship's fucked up.
when it's adversity, yeah,
You know what I mean? And
of course.
the biggest relationship you have in life is the one with yourself. There is no bigger relationship than the one you have with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're
You
the
Yeah,
know,
you're literally the only person that you have to deal with every day.
the stories that you're telling
I
me
like.
from your life so closely parallel the stories that my friend who's a teacher tells me. And she's a teacher in the Los Padrinos Juvenile Detention Center here in LA. It's a big under 18 prison. The kids live there. She goes in and she teaches them. And I hear a lot of stories from her that are similar to the trauma that you experienced growing up. And also the stories about how they just got caught up in their own neighborhood. And, you know, the stories that I hear from her, it goes to show me that um, sometimes it's your trauma that is causing you to act in a certain way. And that certain way can really get you in trouble. And the reason that I was really excited to have you on here today is that I'm hoping that they're watching. So I'd like to say hi to the students of the Los
Oh yeah,
Padrinos Juvenile Detention Center.
So
And because I think that, you know, you can get yourself in trouble, you can make bad decisions, but it's really exciting the way that you talk about, but you can change it. You can change at any point
I gotta say, you
and you
know, when
can
I
make
was
these decisions.
absolutely when I was talking to Carol, and she's gonna come on in a little bit and talk a little bit about how the idea of designing your life struck her. Because when I, you know, obviously when you met her the other day, and you know, it's such a catchy name, Oblique the Architect, and the when we started talking about what this show was going to be about, the design. That it's so exciting because I think there's a lot of people out there they want to know, like, what is the approach, Bleak? How do you sum up the concept of designing your life? Is there like a process that you think you can hammer out?
well, I think I want to kind of the answer to that question is tied into me. Like I kind of want to address what you were just talking about, D-Rex, because
Yeah.
I've been that kid. I have been that kid. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been incarcerated. I've been an angry kid. I've been a kid that's gone through extreme trauma and had to figure out a life through that. A lot of these kids probably don't have father figures. A lot of these, or maybe they do, and their father's terrible. Or maybe, you know what I'm saying? You don't know what somebody's trauma is, but I feel like the process that I use in life, I rinse and repeat it, and I've kind of like broke it down into like 4 pillars. Okay. And so for me, the 4 pillars of designing and creating the life that you want would be accountability, forgiveness, a decision, and a commitment. So it's accountability, forgiveness, making a decision, and making a commitment. And so I'm gonna break those down because I know we ain't got a lot of time, but
I just wrote them down. I want you to break them down.
Break them down. And you know, Obliq, we do try to keep it at an hour so that our audience knows what to expect out of us, bro. But I'm not gonna have you stop talking, man. So just keep on cruising.
I think this is probably the most important thing we've ever done.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
Come on with it.
So let's start with the first one. The first is 4 pillars. So the first one, accountability. And I'll go back to when I was incarcerated, when I had that moment with my daughter. When I got back to that cell block, after I finished crying and wiping my tears or whatever, everything became my responsibility. I realized that the situation that I was in was my fault. It was no one else's fault. It wasn't the judge's fault. It wasn't the arresting officer. It wasn't the person my co-defendant. It wasn't my dad. It wasn't my mom. It literally was my choices. My choices put me in this creation. It put me in this reality. I was not in that cell block because of anyone else. I was in there because of myself. And it became very clear. So like I said, I like to rinse and repeat a lot of this stuff. And anytime something happens, even the home invasion, it's not my fault, but it's my responsibility. There's a sense of accountability, not for what happened, but where I'm going to do next is my responsibility. This creation, how I feel, is my responsibility. So there's that accountability piece. And I'll tell you, little homies, while you sitting in there, sit down and look around. Get really still with yourself. Sit on that bunk and look around. Look at the people around you. Look at the clothes you got on. Look at the food you got to eat. Look at the toilet you got to take a shit on. That's your creation. It's no one else's. It's yours. Accountability. You have to take responsibility for your life. Because if you can do it now, then you can do it later. So the next pillar after you take responsibility for yourself is forgiveness. I feel like when you come from a traumatic background or something bad happens to you and you make a mistake, I think we end up in patterns and a cycle of a behavior because we don't have the ability to forgive ourselves for the mistake. You hear people say it all the time. This is just who I am. How many times have you thought to yourself? How many times have you thought to yourself, shit, this is what it is for me? Forgiveness. You made a mistake, but the problem is that you are identifying yourself with the mistake. You made a mistake, but that is not who you are. Is that who you are when you're dealing with your mother, with your best friends, with your girlfriend, those moments of love when you feel love and you're your best self? Is that the same person that made the mistake? No, the mistake is not you. You made a mistake. So you have to be able to forgive yourself for the mistake, because you can't move past the mistake if you have not forgiven yourself for the mistake. And there's another whole layer of that. That's for a whole different podcast, because you have to forgive some other people too.
We got, you guys can go back to the Get Busy Living YouTube channel and check out prior episodes. We've done an episode about forgiveness.
Yes,
and, that was a very emotional episode.
And I think that a lot of times we deal with forgiving other people, but we forget the person you deal with every day is yourself. How many mistakes have you not forgiven yourself for?
Amen.
So you got to be accountable, hold yourself accountable for what you did, and then forgive yourself for what you did. The next pillar for me is a decision. We talked about it earlier. Knowing what you don't want is very important. But a lot of times, if you ask somebody what you want, they can't give you an answer. A lot of people don't know what they want. A lot of people don't know who they want to be because they never asked themselves. They've never sat down and were honest with themselves. I have a shirt that's on my merch site, and it says loyalty over love. And I think that's such an empowering statement, because a lot of times, especially young guys, I'm talking directly to y'all. Loyalty is everything in the street. Loyalty is everything in underserved communities. The problem is that you're being loyal to everybody but yourself. The first person you should be loyal to is yourself. I respect somebody that says, no, I don't want to do that. My team, I don't require them to do anything that I ask them to do. If they say I don't feel comfortable with that, I respect it. If you're hanging out with people and you can't be loyal to yourself first, that's the wrong circle. That's the wrong cipher. You have to make a decision about who you want to be. If I want to be a good father, because anywhere you put your energy, you're going to improve in that area. If I'm a bad father and I take accountability for being a bad father, I forgive myself for being a bad father, and then I decide I'm going to be a good father, I'm going to be a better father, and I start putting energy towards being a better father, I'm going to improve in that place. It's the same thing in everything in life. Where you put your intention, where you put your energy is where you're going to get results. When you wanted to be good in the streets and you put your energy towards that street shit, you got good at that shit. Just not good enough. Fuck up. I'm just keeping it real. So that decision of who do I want to be and what do I want to do matters.
Absolutely.
And that leads
that's probably why that you said the people that come into your studio feel like they come into a therapy session, because you have all this wisdom to give. You can see right through the BS of this life and of our actions. I'm sorry that you had to go through everything to get there, but man, you got the powerful message.
I lived it, man. So it's like I'm not a PhD that studied urban culture and just was like, okay, you guys don't have, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but you actually are. You do have a PhD in urban culture.
And like, so that decision, man, that decision is everything. Like, you have to decide. And then this is the final pillar, and this is what glues it all together. Because, like I said, you hear people talk about all the time, I want to do this. How many times has somebody said, hey, I'm finna start this business, I'm gonna do this. They decided, but the last pillar is make a commitment. And I'm telling you, you got to write it down. Write down what you want, like it's a contract, and you sign it. You sign it. You have to commit to it. That means there's no negotiating with myself. That means that I have to write down an actual goal, and I have to write down steps. And I think the most powerful thing about setting a goal and writing it down is now you have a metric. You have a unit of measurement. Because if I just say I want to do something and I don't write it down and I don't have a tangible goal and a plan, that means I got to keep remembering what I'm going to do. I have to keep remembering. But I think the most powerful thing about having a goal is it sets a metric, which means now you have a metric, you have a measuring stick to make choices with. So if I say I want to be a surgeon, every decision that I make now, I can say, does this get me closer to where I want to be, or does this get me further away from where I want to be?
Hell yeah. If you ain't spending your time trying to get closer to your dreams coming true, what are you're wasting your time?
I mean, let's think about it. I'm just going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it in something that's very common in the community I grew up in, being an athlete. If I say I want to make the NFL, and the homies is talking about going out and drinking and holler at some chicks, but I got to train in the morning. Now I have a metric to make a choice. If I know I got to go train in the morning, should I go out and drink tonight and stay up all night with some women? I'm not saying you can't have fun. I'm saying now you got a metric to make a choice, because the people that actually achieve their goals, there's a commitment to it. There's a commitment to it. So should I go get drunk knowing I got to go run in the morning? If the answer is yes, then do it. If the answer is no, don't do it.
You know I really like the idea of writing down a contract for yourself and signing it. I love that. We have done entire episodes on writing things down, writing goals down. Don't you? You know, we've talked about it so many times that there's something really powerful about putting your thoughts into something physical like writing that you can see. It's real.
It really something about writing it tangibly, like physically writing something down. I ain't talking about putting it in your phone or on a
Right,
tablet.
right,
I'm talking about physically
right.
on paper, writing things down. It hits different. It hits different.
Yeah.
It processed mentally differently.
I
Um,
like I like how you've encompassed the metamorphosis, because in the beginning it's about you. It's about the accountability, understanding where you are. It's like looking at the hand you've been dealt. This is your accountability. This is what it is, right? So you start with the accountability, right? And then you forgive yourself so
yeah,
that you're clearing your focus so that you can now move forward from here,
it's
right?
saying me forgiveness is saying this is this is the choice that I made. This is this is who I was before. But now that I've forgiven myself, now I can focus on who I want to be.
Hmm.
And that's the decision part, which I've stood on soapboxes talking about. Make a decision. Make a decision, which don't stop contemplating and make the decision, and then commit.
Do you know what I think the most? Do you know what I think the most important commitment a person can make to themselves is? Consistency. For me that was a game changer for me, because I struggled a long time even after making my decisions, because I needed to be perfect. If I didn't do something perfectly, I'm back at the same spot. I got to be accountable for the mistake. Now I got to forgive myself for the mistake. Now I got to decide, but I was deciding to be perfect all over again. And what changed everything for me is that I don't have to have perfect effort every day. I have to have consistent effort every day. I teach my daughters this all the time. I don't need you to be perfect. I need effort. I need consistent effort. If you work at something consistently, you have no choice but to improve. It is literally impossible for you not to improve in an area if you're consistently applying effort to it.
Hell
That is
yeah,
so true.
it's Bleak. You've laid out a blueprint for it, and you've spoken from a place of credibility. And as far as this commitment thing, this is
Hmm.
a perfect time to bring Caro into
Hmm.
Don't chase the monkeys.
what's up, girl. Caro is in the house.
Caro.
So I think that that was a perfect time to allow you to come in, because I know you were excited about talking about designing your life. And when it comes to commitment, we're talking world class commitment from this girl. And so I'm sure that you have some things that can relate there with what Bleak was saying.
Thank you, Sue. I feel so humbled with your words. But oh my God, Obliq, that was a powerful message. You are a truly hero. Like, wow, wow. Like, thank you for your message. That was amazing. Amazing. Very inspiring. I can't wait to meet you in person. You're a real hero.
Oh yeah.
Well, we don't have too much time left, but yeah, I want to apply this beautiful message to my life. What's going on with Carol behind curtains today? So I just want to say that a couple times in life you design your life the way how you think is best for you, but crucial things happen in life, and you realize that you have to redesign your blueprint and um, the way how you draw your purpose. It has to you change. Like you have to change your blueprint sometimes in order to uh, achieve your dreams. And when I realized that I have to redesign my goals and my purpose in life, I was I was a little confused. I was feeling that the universe was crushing on me. I didn't know how to start working with, but I knew um, that I knew I I needed to find the way how to redesign my life. Um, so I always knew that I love to, and my passion in life, one of my passions in life is work out and be healthy and eat healthy. And I was doing it. I always been doing it and being very consistent with that. But I learned that uh, sharing this with other people will be more powerful. And I really want to help people to achieve this goal the way how I'm helping Sweet to do this. Um, so ironically, people think because I'm in a good shape and I like to take care of my body and be very consistent with my good habits. People think that you have all your aspects in your life taken care of, but that's not the case. Ironically, that wasn't my case. Um, uh, I'm I have to. I know that right now in this moment of my life, I need to work harder on myself to uh, to create to get more self confidence and belief in myself, and this way I can make this dream profitable. And having the opportunity to be here with Sweet, uh, he's letting me helping him with this platform. It's a great opportunity for me to learn new skills, get out of my comfort zone, and this is helping me to have more confidence in myself. And as a result, I will feel more comfortable creating my own platform that I want to achieve to help other people to be healthier, to have create better habits in their lives in order to, if they want to look younger and healthier when they hit their 40s and 50s. Um, and when you are going through changes in life and you have to redesign your blueprint, always rely on good friends that they're willing to help you and they have the knowledge to share that knowledge with you in order to pursue your dream. So always trust in your good friends who want to help you and they have that knowledge. Don't be afraid of change, um, and keep being the architect of your life. That will be my message for today. And thank you, Obliq. That was a beautiful message, and I really can't wait to meet you in person. You're amazing. Thank
Me
you.
neither.
That when I told her about what your message was, the amount of enthusiasm was remarkable, and it really is. I was telling her that what I what we've tried to do with the show is be a relatable show. We've had people from all different backgrounds and all different walks of life. We've had a lot of different subjects. We'd have people that are surviving barely, and people that are thriving fully, and people, from basically going in every different direction. And my hope is that by allowing a lot of different folks to express themselves here, that we can, share each other's wisdoms. And by allowing Carol to come on and talk about how our messages are impacting her leading up, I feel like that's just another opportunity to relate to someone else in the audience, and Blake, the way that you design or talk about your blueprint, and especially the way you described your grandfather, giving you like dropping the knowledge on you. If you don't mind, I know we've gone way over, but bro, that really hit me when you were describing that. You want to just pass on a little bit how impactful it can be when you have somebody like that, like your grandfather, drop a nugget on you, and how it's had an impact
Oh
on what you've
man.
done.
So many of my philosophies in life came directly from my grandfather. It's the greatest man that I ever knew. Him and my grandmother were the first and one of the only true visuals of love that I ever experienced. Um, and he was a person like he never had to tell me he loved me. He loved me in action. You know what I mean? Like I never had to question his love because he loved me in action. But he was very Socratic, man. Like I would come to him with a problem, and he just asked me a question. Like
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
one time.
So
I remember
for
one
those of you
time.
who don't know, Socrates was known for that. His style of teaching was whenever you'd ask him a question, he'd answer it with a question.
Right.
And so when you say that, Grandpa used to do that to you, man. I know how that feels. So go ahead
I
with your
remember,
story.
but he always made me think. Like he always made me think, and he always made me, you know, well think, but also go through the process of figuring something out. I asked him something one time, and I remember he was like, if you didn't know me, what would you do?
How's that? That
And
sound
it made
familiar,
me have to
bro?
figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole concept of I have it written on my door in the studio. It says excuses or results. You know what I'm saying? Like
What does that mean? Wait, what does that mean?
I
Clarify
mean,
that.
excuses or results. So a shout out to my brother Price. I see he's on here because he says this all the time too. He said any excuse will do it when you need one. But I've also heard my brother say, he said, what's the difference between a good excuse and a bad excuse? Nothing, because the job still didn't get done. The only, the only difference between there's no difference between a good or bad excuse. There's no difference because the job's still not getting done. And so excuses or results for me, how I conceptualized it in my life is I can make an excuse why this isn't getting done, or I can go make the result happen. Because
Oh, I like that. So it's like, okay.
you can only have one or the other. You can have excuses or you can have results, but you can never have excuses and results at the same time.
Hell yeah.
And that's why it's written on my door. So anytime I don't feel like working, you know what I mean? Another thing my grandfather used to say, he always used to say, work until you're don't stop when you're tired, stop when you're finished.
Hell
A
yeah.
lot of times people use tired as an excuse not to get it done. He used to say, pick your heart. You asked about my grandfather. I'm telling you the
Hell
stuff that's
yeah.
been give
Hell
me.
yeah.
He used to
Yeah.
say, pick your heart. He said it's hard to struggle in life. It's also hard to succeed. Pick your heart.
Wow. Hell yeah. It's
That's
like that.
important
That
right
tells
there.
you that tells you where you need to focus, right? Like
Exactly.
choose it. Man, look at I got my man Kevin Christopher Price is in the house, getting busy living. Baby KCP, we got to get you up on this podcast, bro. Your version of the story, I can't miss and a must see. Bleak, your boy's been hanging out with us. Mr. Barnes here has been chiming in, and man, you've hit some real solid notes today, man. Um, I really appreciate you being willing to come on here and and speak your piece and share your realities with us. Now that you're a part of the community, I mean, we've been a part of the same community for years now, but man, I really want to see a lot more of you out here on our show for us, bro. Love to get you and KCP up in here one day together. I want to get him up in here also so that he can shine and say his piece. Your guys, the way that you guys have turned that into something so wonderful, man. Your music inspires everybody, bro. When I brought the A back to Erie, PA, I guarantee there's 15 people that are still rocking that CD, and I took that back 10 years ago. I still get it. So thank you for donating your art to my show. Thank you for donating your time and your heart to my audience. And Bleak, I hope that you've had as much fun on the Get Busy Living podcast as we've had as having you.
If you don't mind, I know we're over time, but I really feel this is very important. Can I say one more thing just to close out my
Absolutely,
part?
absolutely.
And this is to all the homies in, in juvenile detention, whether it's D-Rex, your friends, kids, or anybody else. This is for the youth specifically. Whatever you decide next will be your creation. If you don't take anything else away from this conversation, you have a choice. Just sit down and look around. Look around you. Decide, is this what you want? Because whatever happens next will be your creation, your responsibility. Make your next move your best move.
Hell yeah. Amen. Amen. D Rex, Carolina, Oblique the Architect. Always remember, we're all in this together. Always remember, no matter the weather, whether sunshine or rain, there's no joy without pain. Always remember, we're all in this together. Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell
Hell,
yeah.
Hell
All right.
yeah. Wow, thanks for being here today.
Love you guys.
But you gotta believe me, ain't nothing coming easy. My